How's it going, my dreamers? This is Born to Dream, back with another raid boss guide for you guys. Sorry for not having as many Pokemon Go videos as of late. It's just that I mainly just do raid boss guides now, if I'm being honest. So if there aren't any really new raid bosses, then I probably don't make a video for it. That might change like in a few days, because as you guys might know, I am doing my Pokedraft, my own Pokedraft solo league that I'm doing for my local community, which I will be posting on the channel probably in a few days, and that's been eating up most of my time. So there's that, and then of course I do, Let's Plays and all that on my channel, and then, when I'm actually out and about playing Pokemon Go, and there's certain raid bosses like Moltres and Articuno and Zapdos, and then we had Mewtwo, I don't really feel like going after the tier 3 raid bosses. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. I'd much rather go do the Moltres or the Zapdos or the Articuno, especially Moltres, because I missed Moltres Day. I got a shiny Articuno and a shiny Zapdos on their respective days, but I didn't get a shiny Moltres. So there is that as well. So anyways, with all that aside, today we are going to be talking about Claydol. Now, Claydol has been around one time before it's been around right now, which is like early October, or early October is when this thing came out, like October 2nd, and it was around before that, but I never got around to doing a raid boss guide because I was having computer issues at the time. And another thing is, I deleted all of the Claydol videos. I don't know if I would say by accident. Maybe I should have kept them, but I do have to go out and re-record these Claydol videos again, which is kind of a pain, but I sort of do like doing Claydol solos, because Claydol is actually the hardest. I could say with absolute certainty that it is the hardest tier 3 raid boss to solo, other than Shuckle, but you can't solo a Shuckle. So this is the hardest raid boss to solo that you could possibly solo. It's this Pokemon right here. And if you are paying attention to the stats, you would understand why. This Pokemon right here probably has the highest defense among tier 3 raid bosses, other than Shuckle. There might be one or two other Pokemon that I'm just not thinking of right now that could have had a higher defense stat that became raid bosses, but Claydol is really up there for defensive Pokemon currently in Go. And it doesn't hit very hard, and its HP is kind of lackluster. It's okay, but its defense is ridiculous, and that means that Claydol is very, very difficult to take down as a raid boss. It doesn't have a double weakness like, let's say, Onix, so you can't even take advantage of that. Claydol does have a few weaknesses, but none of them are, I should say, quadruple. It's not quadruple weak to anything. Like Onix is quadruple weak to water and grass. Claydol doesn't have that going for it, so it's a very difficult solo. So we have the moves here. So if you're looking to solo Claydol, you gotta look out for these moves here. We got Confusion Psychic, Extrasensory Psychic, Confusion Earthquake, Extrasensory Earthquake, Confusion Gyro Ball, Extrasensory Gyro Ball. You guys can see that it's kind of like there isn't like Confusion Earthquake isn't better than Extrasensory Psychic. Like, they're all kind of lined up to show you just like what the hardest charge move is and what the easiest charge move is. And I think I would agree with this list. I do think that Psychic is probably the hardest moveset to solo. But, I mean, you can't slouch on a clear boosted Earthquake, which most of you would probably be soloing if you were taking on a Claydol, because Clear Weather is probably the most common weather for most people. Most people. I mean, you might live in a area where there's a lot of rain, or maybe maybe you're just one of those lucky few that live in a area where there's a lot of wind. But I would say, in terms of like easiest to hardest, this does seem correct, because you will have a lot of Pokemon that resist Gyro Ball when you're soloing this Claydol. So let's go ahead. Let's look at its weaknesses. So you got Bug, Grass, Dark, Ghost, Ice, and Water. And you guys see all these weaknesses here, and you'd be like, oh, well, why is Claydol so difficult? Because certain types don't do very well against Claydol. There isn't a Pokemon of that type that could solo a Claydol fast enough. For example, if we were to look at bug types, without Rain Boost, it would be very, very difficult to take down a Claydol with Scizor or Pinsir, because they just don't do enough damage. I mean, there's only a few Pokemon that will do enough damage to Claydol, and we'll talk about that when we get to the counters. But, I mean, it's just a handful of Pokemon that can take down Claydol, because Claydol is just that bulky. So, you guys can see all these weaknesses here. You guys might think it might not be that bad, but it actually is that bad. This is a very difficult raid boss. You should not do this if you are under level 40 to be completely... Well, under level 38, because you could have level 40 Pokemon at 38. You really should not touch Claydol if you're under level 38. I would highly recommend not doing that if you're 38 or lower. Generally speaking, levels don't mean everything, but I mean, I'm just talking in terms of what you can max out and what you can't, basically. So if you're looking for a perfect Claydol, I mean, Claydol has pretty. I mean, you guys can see its max CP. It's pretty mediocre. It's a 1782. At level 40, it's a 1782 Pokemon, so it's got a very, very mediocre CP. You really should not be powering up a Claydol, but I guess if you wanted to be that guy to power up a perfect Claydol, 1018 would be perfect at level 20. So if you get a 1018 Claydol, you have a perfect Claydol. If you fight this in clear, or if you fight this in windy weather, 1272 is going to be perfect at level 25. So, let's go ahead and we'll get into the juicy stuff now. This is the Pokemon that you can use for Claydol. It's not a whole lot. I mean, really, the only Pokemon that could solo Claydol, there's only two Pokemon. If you're doing this in neutral weather, there's only really two Pokemon that you could solo Claydol in. And that is Kyogre, and you guys don't see the other Pokemon on the list, but Gengar. Those are the only two Pokemon that, in a sense, you get like a plus time. So if you had like 6 Kyogres, and you tried to solo a Claydol, you could solo it. If you had 6 Gengars, you might be able to solo Claydol. Actually, I think I've seen people do it, so... you could solo a Claydol with all maxed out Gengars. You might have to re-lobby again, but you could do it. The rest of these Pokemon, all these other Pokemon that you see here, you're going to need some sort of weather boost for them to make a difference against Claydol. So if you have a Mewtwo, you're probably hoping for foggy weather. If you have a Gyarados, you're hoping for rainy weather. Foggy weather for Tyranitar. Clear weather for Executor and for Cacturne. Those are your supreme or good counters, but I mean, unless you are in clear weather, don't go in with 6 Cacturnes. Even in clear weather, I'm not even sure. Maybe Cacturne could. I need to look that up. But if you had 6 Cacturnes against a Claydol, I don't know if you would be able to do it in clear weather, but. Like I said, I could look that up. And then this is the chart. But, I mean, to be 100% honest, I'm trying to look at this right now. I'm trying to figure out the cutoff. Like the cutoff. I'd probably say anything below the Venusaur probably can't solo it. With weather. Well, I don't want to say that as an absolute fact, but I mean, if you are using any of these other Pokemon here, you probably won't be able to solo it. I mean, just generally speaking, just use as many Kyogres and Gengars as you can, and then if there's a weather that benefits any Pokemon, any of these Pokemon, use those Pokemon as well. That's basically the gist of it. And then you guys can see all the DPS and TDOs, total damage outputs. You guys can clearly see that Kyogre and Gengar are at the top of the list for DPS, and then Gengar is like right here for TDO. So yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and we will talk about weather for Claydol. What you should be soloing Claydol in. I already kind of mentioned it. But let me see. Hold up. This is not what I want. Where the hell is... I always do this. Hold up. Alright, here we go. So, this is all the weathers here, obviously. And the weather you're probably going to want to solo Claydol in is going to be rainy weather, because you want the Kyogres to be boosted. And then foggy weather, because you want your Gengars to be boosted. Everything else, it does help, but you still need like Kyogres and Gengars to... I mean, I guess you need Kyogres and Gengars for everything, but you still need a lot of help from Kyogres and Gengars to solo it. If you're just starting out with a Claydol raid, fog and rainy weather are probably the best bets. And then I guess you could try clear weather if you have a few Executors. That works. And then for ice, I honestly don't know. Like Jinx comes to mind, but I don't know if Jinx would be able to do it. Maybe, maybe not. It's Claydol really is that difficult to where you really like... I think there's only like... There might be more than 10, but it's there's not a whole lot of Pokemon that can solo Claydol with or without weather boost. So, and then probably what you don't want to solo Claydol in is windy weather. And I mean, I guess sort of clear too, because Earthquake does do a lot of damage. But if you're fighting like a non-Earthquake Claydol in clear weather, then I mean you're good to use Executor. Even then, I mean Executor could eat up the hits, so I guess it's okay. But try to avoid Claydol in windy weather if you're not sure if you could solo it. And then partly cloudy and cloudy don't help you at all for Claydol. So don't really I don't want to say don't bother with it, but just don't count on these two weathers to help you, because they don't. So anyways, that does it for this portion of the video. Hopefully I have 3 raids for you guys. As of recording this, I'm currently at 2. If I can find a 3rd raid, you guys will see it. But if I can't, you guys kind of know the situation. So I'm just gonna go with 2, and honestly, all Claydol raids are the same. So I probably would just go with 2 and just leave it at that. So anyways, I'll see you guys in that part of the video. Alright, so first up we have Gyro Ball Claydol. As I mentioned in the video, I only managed to record 2 of these. I couldn't find a 3rd one, so I figured 2 is good enough. In all honesty, every Claydol solo is the same. I mean, it's still a stupid hard raid boss to take down. It won't do a lot of damage to you, but it does kind of wear you thin. And if you're using Gengar especially, it will be a little bit of a problem for your Gengars because it is a Psychic type, and both of its quick moves are Psychic moves. So yes, it is a problem for Gengar. And then if you have an Earthquake or a Psychic Claydol, it could definitely be a problem. I did mess up on a few dodges here. If I got that extra dodge off with the Gengar instead of being cute, because I did miss the dodge on the first Gengar, I probably would have been able to survive the Gyro Ball and get the Shadow Ball off. The biggest thing with soloing Claydol is obviously you want to do as much damage with these Gengars as possible, and then really you don't have to dodge too much with Kyogre. Kyogre could just sit here and Waterfall and Hydro Pump and, you know, just tank these Gyro Ball hits. That's why I think Gyro Ball is the easiest, because you really do not have to dodge at all with Kyogre. But this is still a very, very difficult solo. I would highly recommend not attempting this if you do not have a Kyogre. And I mean, I got rainy weather here too, so you guys could see how much I'm doing with this Kyogre. I got to like yellow right at 90 seconds, so we're in for a little bit of a tough one. But I mean, I haven't had this Kyogre out for very long, so it's it should do a lot more damage as the battle progresses. Sometimes I will dodge if I see the charge move and my charge meter is almost full. I will dodge a move to like not take as much damage at that moment, because it won't fill up their charge meter that much if you're really, really close, and there's just no point in taking that hit. You could just take a you could just like tank a Gyro Ball later on, where you might actually need to tank a Gyro Ball, if that makes sense. But we got Kyogre number 2 here, and yeah, you guys can see I'm doing pretty good on the Claydol itself. That's because this is in rainy weather. Rainy weather is probably the weather I would recommend if you're trying to solo Claydol, because none of its moves will be boosted, and I mean, you'll already have a Kyogre or a Gyarados ready to go, ready to solo this thing. So yeah, we managed to solo this Claydol. It's not too bad if you have maxed out Kyogres. The hardest thing is to get maxed out Kyogres. I understand that, and I know people probably missed out on the Kyogre events that we had, but honestly, you need at least one Kyogre to do this. I have been seeing people that have been doing Claydol solos without Kyogre, but I mean, if you're just starting out, then I think you do need a Kyogre to ensure that you get a victory at least. So alright, so last but not least, we have Earthquake Kyogre here. Or Kyogre. Claydol here. I've been saying Kyogre a lot already. We got Earthquake Claydol here. I'm gonna get it right one of these days. And so this one's obviously in cloudy weather. I would say Earthquake and Psychic are pretty much the same kind of moves, to be honest. This is a Fusion Claydol, by the way, and it's doing a lot of damage to my Gengar, as you can see. But I mean, I wouldn't rank one better than the other. See, I don't know what's up with me and missed dodges on Gengars. I'm usually way better at that than I'm showing you guys here, but honestly, Earthquake and Psychic, I would say, are equally the same. If I were to rank them, like if you were to put a gun in my head and say rank them, not that you would do that, but in that sense, I would probably say that Psychic is harder only because there's less of a dodge window for Psychic, but Psychic really isn't that bad to dodge either. It's just Earthquake is a stupid slow charge move, so yeah, as you guys can see, and I don't know if I got a dodge off there either. I don't know what's up me and my dodging in this video. So, as I mentioned before, you could really only use Kyogre in this solo. If you want to try other stuff, you can use like Executor and Clear Weather. You can use like Tyranitar and Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, Gengar, and Foggy Weather. Anything else that comes to mind? I mean, you can use. I don't know if you would be able to use Bug types against this variant of Claydol, but I don't think you would. I think I named off most of what you can do. It's a very, very short list of counters you can use against Claydol. So we got Kyogre number 2 coming here. I actually did this Claydol solo like while I was waiting for a Mewtwo raid, so I don't know if I had 100% attention the entire time. But I mean, you guys still get to see like how difficult soloing a Claydol is. It's not an easy feat whatsoever. Even if you have maxed out stuff, it's definitely not easy. There is a little bit of luck that has to go your way for you to solo a Claydol. And I know I came pretty close to messing this up. So, you guys will see that. But, yeah, there isn't really much you can use against a Claydol. It's a really short list. This is definitely the hardest raid boss we've had in Pokemon Go yet, in my opinion. And it's actually crazy to me that some people are doing, like, Pokedraft leagues, and people are actually trying to solo Claydol in those Pokedraft leagues. That's kind of insane to me, because it's a really crazy raid boss. But you guys saw I got that with like 4 seconds left. I don't know, again, I don't think I had full attention when I was doing that. So, anyways, after all of that, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video off here. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. In the next Pokemon Go video, I will probably end up doing something for my solo league that I told you guys about probably a month ago. You guys are going to start seeing videos for that. I'm going to do like 2 separate parts for it, because I mean, we did 2 separate raid bosses in a week. So I'm going to show off that, and hopefully you guys are interested in that. And you know, it's a lot of fun. If you guys aren't in one and you guys like solo raiding, I would highly suggest joining one. There's plenty of them now that it's been a major attraction, I guess, for lack of better words. So definitely join one if you aren't in one right now, because it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's definitely a completely different take on Pokemon Go, because you end up powering up stupid shit, because sometimes that stupid shit will actually help you in a solo raid. But anyways, I will see you guys then. Keep living the dream. Goodbye.